just a smidge behind schedule, literally only 1 minute. But disappointed in myself as someone who has that, very clinical tendency to be efficient, if not even more early than necessary. And now I'm mildly distracted because a thunderstorm is about to start, as was projected for this region in a scattered sense for today. Not too worried about it. It was just stimuli that I kind of had a sense what was going to be coming my way momentarily, but a little bit sooner than I expected. But that unplanned opening monologue aside, let me get into some more planned stuff. Just one moment. I am going to cross-post this on my... Get the hell out of here. On my main timeline right about now. Hold on. God, this is so annoying. All right. I swear to God. Nope. Okay, good. Okay, good. First off, I will give a continued update on the Lyndon Byers Fund facilitated by the Greg Hill Foundation until it reaches its goal, or at the least until the promotion cycle for it ceases. That is not the right thing. Hold on. Man, what the frig? Well, I suppose I could find it that way. Just making sure I had the right link here. You piece of dog shit app. Sure, why not? Shit website. Hold on. Oh yeah, okay, I found it. Let me just... Oh, they're making some progress. So now, per the current ticker, hold on, did that work right? Yes, good. Okay. The current counter, or whatever you want to call it, for the fund lists that the GHF has reached $43,164.89 of its $60,000 goal. So really some meaningful progress there, which is good to see. I'm dropping the link in the comments section again to keep it in this steady cycle. Here, as noted, I will be providing regular updates on this for as long as it remains an active cause, so to speak. But yeah, really good showing of support by the community still, as well as some big-time investors in the business and hockey and philanthropy fields in the region. So that's good to see. On another somber note of sorts, I want to give a quick offer of condolences to some members of the community for this sport that were affected by some really saddening news that came along this past week. As Wayne Thomas, who was a longtime member of the San Jose Sharks front office, passed away at the age of 77 at his home in Falmouth, Mass, after a battle with cancer. As noted by one source, Thomas spent over 2 decades with the Sharks, starting as an assistant to the general manager and assistant coach in 1993, and eventually becoming vice president and assistant general manager before retiring in 2015. His playing career included 8 seasons as an NHL goaltender with the Canadiens, Maple Leafs, and Rangers, before transitioning to coaching and, of course, becoming an important figure in the front office overall, but was also particularly involved in their very successful goaltending developmental program that they had for years, as he worked with players at that position quite closely. Certainly a loss that is felt by a number of people in different areas of the sport. So, of course, this episode is also dedicated to Wayne, and we offer condolences to friends, family, colleagues, teammates who were affected by the news of his death. Definitely a big headline. Also, want to give this definitely feels more like an end of the road pre-big finish thing that would happen on Pardon the Interruption to go this route early in the episode. But of course, wanted to wish happy retirement to Yaroslav Halak, who really was one of the most underrated goaltenders of his era. More of a Hall of very good type candidate than anything, but I do think he could have potentially been the missing piece for a number of teams that were just a goalie away. If you think about it, you look at some teams, be it Toronto at various points. Some have pointed out, maybe even San Jose themselves, ironically, maybe during like that the phase where they had kind of some also rans in that starter spot. You can probably think of a couple of names without me even having to say anything. But really just impressive stats throughout so many seasons in his career. Certainly not, a Carey Price-like acumen, but of course, who really has had that sort of prime anyways in any era. Never mind with the lack of support that Price had, but neither here nor there. Congratulations on a great career. Also want to, give my farewells to and happy trails to Blake Wheeler on his official retirement as well. Very steady points producer. Is just a reliable offensive presence for a number of seasons. That back-to-back 91-point campaign stretch between the 17-18 and 18-19 campaigns were a very much more than respectable peak. Finishes his career having played over 1,000 games and being a star producer for Bader model purposes. Second team All-Star selection. Another Hall of Very Good type caliber player, but one who I think we were really fortunate to watch. Just put in those years of very reliable servitude for Winnipeg for the time that he did. After being an understandable, if somewhat saddening for the fan base in question, trade piece during the Cup run for Boston. Just thinking about how Rich Peverley went back the other way in that deal and how that dude basically suffered cardiac death that he was revived from. And in the process, Nathan Horton was ultimately credited for a goal in a game in which he technically didn't play when it was resumed. But
I don't know why when you said went back the other way, I just started thinking about Rage Against the Machine, but continue.
That's funny. That's a worthy interruption. Which, of course, that anecdote has come up in a previous episode in one of our many diversions in which we talk about idiosyncratic statistics, particularly in that very peculiar and memorable mid-tens era, particularly the 13-14 season, which really was just, I feel like that was really one of the most idiosyncratic NHL seasons on record. Like, There was just so many bizarre occurrences that year. Like there was something in the water, like that shit show of a Nux Flames game in which Torts attempted to invade the Calgary locker room and tear Bob Hartley's face off, albeit he was stopped by Clint Malarchuk effectively, for just one example. But in any event, happy retirement, Blake. Uh, and, of course, I had to point out he was a product of a very useful, and of course, this is going to feel like one of those "Hi, my name is" commercials of the organization that you see on so many broadcasts. Uh, but of course, as I have to point out, Blake Wheeler, albeit not in the market that we are going to discuss today, although it will get its shine eventually, played college hockey.
You
I
know,
definitely very much felt some reminiscences of those like "Hi, my name is Jack Eichel," and I played college hockey commercials that when I said that, but it was just too irresistible.
the
But
secret to Blake Wheeler's success was truly secretly that he believed in the heart of the card Duke. Yeah. It's low hanging fruit, but with him in retirement, I just visualized Blake Wheeler in a green unbuttoned shirt with fingerless gloves and a pair of jeans, believing in the heart of the cards and scoring playoff winning goals.
including one of the most memorable goals in collegiate history in that championship game against the University of North Dakota, which it's hilarious because that was literally just an attempt to prevent an icing that turned into an OT game winner. But
So what you're saying is he had that Time Wizard plot armor in effect.
look, I'm trying to transition us into the
I'm
actual
sorry.
meaningful part of this episode. All right, can I have my shine here?
Yes.
In any event, um, I this week I want to discuss the first of what will probably be a handful of collegiate hockey history chapters. And this week we will be discussing the history of what is known by many names. Some call it the Green Line rivalry. Some call it the Battle of Calm Ave. Some call it the Battle of Boston, albeit members of a certain fan base are keen to point out that the opposing side does not technically play in Boston. But whatever, that's not all that important. But of course, it's low hanging fruit. It's the easiest thing that you can probably talk about of this nature, but we are going to start things off by diving into the history of the rivalry between Boston University and Boston College. So, hold on, I had something here. There is something that, of course, I would home. I almost made that hone in on mistake, but I caught myself. There's one particular chapter that can be homed in on as like the most pivotal. But what's interesting is that while it feels like old history, it was 60 years after they played their first game against one another, as the first iteration of this rivalry took place on February 6th, 1918. As Boston University played its only game that season and were defeated by Boston College by a score of 3-1 at the old Boston Arena, which of course is now known as the Matthews Arena, which is approaching the end of its lifespan as one of the most historic barns in history. But per at least one source, albeit I believe this was from a game program from like 2009, maybe. So it's probably in need of an update, or maybe not. Who knows? But as recently as 16 years ago, throughout the NCAA D1 hockey landscape, no set of opponents have played each other more often. As of their most recent matchup on February 10th, 2025, in which BU defeated BC uh, by a score of 4-1 in that memorable Beanpot final, which really is just sort of intrinsic to how unfortunate and just how how much bad luck and bad juju there is around the Beanpot, in particular for Boston College for like the last near decade now. Um, like they've just found a way. We've known that they've had bad big game fortune and fortitude really throughout most of the Greg Brown era, but like it's interesting of note now that for 9 straight years at this point, BC just finds a way to lose the Beanpot at any given phase repeatedly. I'm actually curious now, not to get too far off target, uh, how many finals losses that includes. Uh, let's take a look here. Uh, let's see. In 2017, let's see. If this fucking thing were in order, that would be great. God, this is laid out like shit. Okay, yeah, there we go. Let's see. Yeah, before even getting to the final, they were defeated by BU 3-1 in that first matchup, then lost the consolation game to Northeastern 4-2. Uh, they lost to Northeastern 3-0 in the opening game in 2018. Then lost to Harvard 5-4 in overtime in the consolation game. Let's see. Let's see. They lost to Northeastern 4-2 in the 2019 final. Let's see. They won the consolation game 7-2 in the 2020 edition. But that was also after having lost to BU 5-4 in double overtime. So bit of a sour taste in their mouth there. 3-1. Let's see. Was the score of their defeat against Northeastern in their opening game in 2022? Of course, 2021 was canceled due to COVID-19 lockdown protocols, as everyone can assume. But in any event, what's really hilarious is that consolation game ended in a 3-3 tie between them and Harvard to really rub their nose in shit there. But in 2023, let's see, they won the consolation game 4-2 against BU, but how stoked are you going to be on that, really? And then, of course, that was after losing to Harvard 4-3 in overtime in the opening game. They won the consolation game in 2024 5-0. After BU defeated them 4-3 in the opening game, which of course was BU's only victory against them this season before this past one. And then, of course, there was this final. So really, they haven't even gotten to that final stage most of the time. in this last near decade, which is rough. But I mean, at least it mitigates heartbreak, I suppose. Nobody was thrilled, of course. I definitely saw that we always find a way to choke this shit a lot after that 4-1 loss this past season in college hockey Twitter. But in any event, we can talk about some of the more significant moments in the history of this rivalry in particular while remaining on target on the primary topic. Without question, so ever since 1946-47, there's been at least a once a season meeting between those two. That was when it became an annual event. Since 1949 is when they've been meeting at least twice a year. Of course, sometimes it could be more than that, contingent upon how the chips fall with different tournaments. But let's see. There was a point where they were meeting 3 times a year, I believe, as well. But that has not been the case for a while. To the point about the Beanpot, they have faced each other 12 times. 22 times, sorry. BU winning 12 and BC winning 10. Let's see. Of course, BU has 31 titles there to the Eagles 20. Actually, it's funny because that last Beanpot title victory was a 1-0 overtime win in the 2016 final. That was the last BC triumph, so at least they made it count. Obviously, I had the Wu-Tang song start playing in my head after that. But in any event, obviously combined 10 national championships, 5 each, with BU really asserting dominance in their dynasty in the 70s with 71, 72, 78 being their first 3 wins, then 95, then 2009. So a bit of distribution, whereas BC's first title goes all the way back to 1949. And then subsequently, the Jerry York era reached its zenith in the 2000s. With 2001, of course, being their first instance, that's, of course, a significance to the lore of this podcast as well as the community around it, for having been a team that featured Tony Vos as one of its most important figures, both as a talent and as an individual in that room with significant leadership qualities, which had him well remembered by his peers as well as his coaches, and of course translated into his coaching career. And subsequently in 2008, 2010, and 2012, of course, both teams have had chances to win it then, notably BU having lost in the finals in 2015 as well as 2025, and BC in 2024. But really the zenith of this rivalry is which at that time the BC Eagles BU Terriers matchup was hardly a rivalry due to the Joel Embiid Boston Celtics dynamic of they always kick our ass. With BU having won a considerable number of games in the then recent past before that matchup at the Providence Civic Center. Prior to that, they had won 5 straight, as well as 7 of their last 8 against them, with the break between those actually having been a tie at their then home of the BU's then home of the Walter Brown Arena. by a score of 6-6. Not even a victory for Boston College. You had to go back to February 9th, 1976, to find a victory uh, for the Eagles against the Terriers at that point. And of course, prior to that, it was another four straight victories dating back to January 18th, 1975. Uh, but on March 25th, 1978, in Providence, as noted, and as I've been teasing for like several minutes now, these two teams faced each other in the national championship game for that year. BU skated to a 5-3 victory, therefore making them the victors in what is definitely the most significant high stakes matchup between those two teams in history. Despite the fact that they've faced each other for different trophies since then, uh, I think that probably the next time that it reached that level of feeling like uh, there are just the highest stakes of note was that number one versus number two matchup, which in the during the spring semester of the 23-24 season, where it was, of course, the likes of Gautier, Smith, uh, Peralt, and Leonard against that team spearheaded by Celebrini and the elder Hudson, uh, which had never occurred before. I wouldn't be surprised if it does happen again at some point. Considering the recruiting clout that these programs still have. Um, I think there might be some slight regression for either or both of these programs, really, but they'll still be very damn good. Uh, and it's not out of the realm of possibility that one of these teams, or both, of course, again, can't stress that enough, recruits one of those high-level CHL prospects in the coming times. They've already got a pretty good foot in the pipeline, but this 5-3 victory, of course, was the most significant result in the history of the rivalry between those two teams. And it won't be unseated until that matchup does happen again on that stage. We got pretty damn close in 2024, of course, with both teams having been in the Frozen Four. But, of course, BU didn't quite get there, having lost to Denver, who then subsequently won the whole thing against BC. But as luck would have it, there is an archived version of the Sports Illustrated article on this matchup, which I will read in full because it's pretty short. The title, appropriately, from the April 3rd, 1978 issue, written by an author named E.M. Swift, was It's Still a One-Way Avenue. Not, I couldn't think of a better title given the state of affairs between those two teams at that time in the history between them, really. Like, it's definitely encapsulates it well, but it is subtitled Boston University Won the NCAA Battle and the War of Commonwealth Avenue. Despite its triumph in the ECACs, BC seemed lost in the shadow of BU's superior record. In their 3 games this season, BU had waltzed to 6-3, 12-5, and 10-5 wins. Am I missing the first page of this? Yeah, I don't think. Hold on, I might be able to get a workaround. This archive is a little funky, but that's fine. We can just read the second half. It gives more perspective in some ways, while also keeping it somewhat concise. 12-5 and 10-5 wins is nasty work, though, I gotta say. And while the series is close, it now stands at 64, 54, and 6 in BU's favor. In the past decade, the Terriers have a 25-5-2 record against the Eagles. After Bowling Green silenced Wisconsin 4-3 in the consolation, the first sellout 11,038 crowd at the tournament saw BC defenseman Joe Augustine called for holding just 9 seconds into the championship game. In all, it took BU just 38 seconds to beat Skidmore 1-0 for a 1-0 lead with ubiquitous center Mark Fiddler scoring on a slap shot from the top of the face-off circle. For the next few minutes, Skidmore kept the floodgates closed, and Joe Mullen, yes, that one, tied the game 1-1 with a power play tip-in. Bobby Hare put BC ahead 2-1 when he picked up a puck left in front of BU's net following a mix-up between defenseman Dick Lambie, who notably transferred to BU from Salem State, by the way. I actually know that one off the top of my head as part of an interesting lineage of programs that are now in what is known as the MASCAC. And goalie Jim Craig, again, yes, that one. That one was for the point spread, said BU co-captain Jack O'Callahan, another member of the 1980 Miracle on Ice team, of course. Thereafter, though, BU controlled the game. Dave Silk, yet another Miracle team member, and Tony Meager scored to make it 3-2 BU at the end of the first period. It was 5-2 after Meager and Fiddler scored their second goals, and although BC did narrow the final margin to 5-3, BU was never in distress. In fact, only Skidmore's acrobatics, he foiled a half dozen BU breakaways and kept the kept the score that close. O'Callahan, who had 6 assists in the tournament and was named MVP, seemed more relieved than thrilled at the national championship. We were 28-2 coming into this tournament, but we were on the outside looking in, he said. Now we're on the inside looking out at the rest of them. And, of course, in one of the most famous quotes, or infamous, depending on who you ask, in the history of this rivalry that I love busting out on people to just represent how much disdain there was, but also in like that annoying little brother way at that time. Then O'Callahan shook his head and said, but we shouldn't have to beat BC for the Nationals. Hell, we can do that anytime. Really makes me think that his depiction on in terms of how he was written for the Kurt Russell film was pretty accurate. Gavin O'Connor and Eric Guggenheim definitely depicted him as having a pretty high self-esteem, from what I recall, to put it one way. Thinking on something now. Gotta, of course, always say rest in peace to the actor that portrayed him, who, of course, was a local kid who legitimately played for one season at the University of Maine, as well as another season at UMass Boston. Michael Mantenuto, a native of Holliston, of course, was a victim of post-traumatic stress disorder, most likely, in 2017 at just the age of 35. Decorated military service career. Definitely, lived a meaningful life in his short time here. But and of course, definitely, was one of many presences in that film that made it authentic. As they made a point in the casting for that film to, when it came to the members of the team, rather than teaching actors how to play hockey, they taught hockey players how to act, which was really a very good creative choice on their part. definitely really respected that part of the product. But yeah, of course, he will be well remembered by this community for having such an important part in what many perceive as the greatest film about this sport of all time. Uh, Certainly a position I have time for. Um, but shifting back to the main focus here, for an update on the head-to-head between those two, it stands at BU still leading 141, 132, 136 with 21 ties between those two teams as well to accommodate that. If you were curious about the largest margin of victory, it was in that stage where BU was still fledgling and building their program, as you could kind of assume based off of how that went and how BC won their first national title quite early on, with by way of an 11-0 victory by BC on February 23rd, 1943. Of course, BC holds the record for longest win streak between these two at 13, as BU defeated BC every time they face each other between December 9th, 1992 and March 4th, 1995. And the longest unbeaten streak, which lasted from that starting point up until February 5th, 1996. So, of course, like, you look at these programs, of course, they have a number of banners to their names that it's just like, it's not the gold standard per se, but, definitely among the most decorated across the country. And, BC has a respectable record against them, especially in the 21st century, where the scales have kind of tilted in their favor, to put it one way, despite BU, of course, remaining perennially relevant. But BU ultimately has the edge due to having had, once they established themselves, just having been consistently the better program for various long stretches throughout a good chunk of the 20th century is effectively how this rivalry can be categorized, I would say.
Yeah.
But of course, I think there's one other component to this that should be evaluated, which of course, really of course, it's not the intent for most of them because, like, let's face it, the number of players that actually make it through to the next level is pretty small. But in terms of, like, ideal outcomes, and how a lot of these teams are and programs are evaluated is professional talent production. So let me do a quick side-by-side of their NHL alumni. I knew BU had more. I just wanted the precise figures. I believe BU has had 100 that played at least one game, which is a really remarkable track record. I guess I could go through this. That's an option. It's not my preferred. Let's see. Well, we'll list off some of the noteworthy ones. Let's see. Just go through all the 200 gamers. Andrew Alberts, 459 games. Boston, Philadelphia, Carolina, Vancouver. Cam Atkinson, 809. CBJ, Philadelphia, Tampa Bay. Brian Boyle, 871. LA, New York, specifically the Rangers, of course. Tampa Bay Lightning, Toronto, New Jersey, Nashville, Florida, Pittsburgh. Doug Brown, 854 games. Devils, Penguins, Red Wings. Had a close call in the form of Scott Clemenson, but of course he's a goaltender, so 191 is more than respectable. Of course, with the Devils, Leafs, and Panthers. Thatcher Demko is still at it with the Canucks, of course. 242 games played to his name at this point, I believe. Let me see if that's out of date. I feel bad that I don't know that offhand. Yeah, that sounds about right. Gosh, let's see. This is a pretty damn good list. Of course, Patrick Eves, Brian Dumoulin, Johnny Gaudreau, of course. Unfortunately truncated at 763, but what an impact he made in his far too short of life on Earth and career. Brian Giunta, member of the 1,000 Games Club, at 1,026. Jimmy Hayes, also RIP, 334. Kevin Hayes, 777. Peter Harold, Kings Devils, 274 game career. Steve Hines, 694 games. Let's see, Craig Janney, 760. Shout out Enfield, Connecticut. Chuck Kobaso, 601. Let's see. Kevin Stevens, 874. That guy's a real tit fucker, huh? You know I had to go there. Rob Scuderi, 783. 2 Stanley Cups, of course. Corey Schneider, 410. Let's see. Brooks Orpik, another 1,000 Games Club member at 1,035. 2 Stanley Cups to his name, of course, as well. Joe Mullen has 3 of them. He's really getting some shine on this episode. Member of the Hall of Fame. I believe at one point, at least, was the all-time leading point scorer from American-born players. Let me double check on that. I know Phil Housley had it for a bit. Let's see. Then, well, he did have he did initially set the record for goals by an American-born player in a single season. Though, of course, it was literally broken the next year by Bobby Carpenter of Beverly, Massachusetts, who, of course, was one of those rare high school to pro players. A little more common back then, as of course Tom Barrasso did that as well. But of course he went directly from SJP to the NHL as one of those guys like who's just so dominant that you kind of just like see that level of preparedness already. We'll probably be talking about some of those guys in the near future as the MIAA will continue to get some increased love on this podcast and in written context in the near future. Of course, some of those guys were drafted but didn't necessarily take either didn't take that route ultimately or just didn't get a contract offer. But it is definitely a relic of a time gone by for dudes largely to even be drafted from that environment
directly. It's just never mind to play pro games immediately thereafter. Like, as I like to point out, I am pretty sure that Colin Blackwell will be the last guy, also St. John's Prep alumnus, appropriately enough, um, to even be drafted from an MIAA program. Uh, but in any event, um, all right, I'll narrow this down. I should have looked more into this before. Yeah, I mean, see, as far as first round picks go, Boston College has produced 25 of those, uh, which, let's see, I think that might be, yeah, that's third all time in NCAA history, which is more than respectable. Second most names inscribed on the cup. All right, I know how to fast track this. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28. Hey, Nathan Gervais. 29, 30, 31, 32, 33, 34, 35, 36, 37, 38. Scott Harlow. Shout out to him being a member of the One Game Club. 41, 42, 43, 44, 45, 46, 47, 48, 49. Yeah, I think the total for BC's players that have gone on to play at least one game in the NHL appears to be about 95. So it's damn close as far as NHLers are concerned. I know BU, of course, has the edge in terms of highest pick spot, as they have produced the number one overall pick more than once now, of course, whereas BC has yet to have their first. Although that's to say, take nothing away from the elite talents that they produced. Uh, you know, uh, I mean, they produced Brian Leach during what was arguably a lean years period for them. So like, you can't hate on them for that. More recently they've had guys of high quality come through with the likes of Noah Hannafin, for instance. Let's see. Thinking more recently than that. A guy who gets a fair degree of appreciation on here in the form of Chris Kreider, uh, another MIAA alumnus, with him having spent the first 2 years of his high school career at what is colloquially referred to as Masco, uh, as he started his career in a more that part of his career in a more low pressure environment, as his parents thought it would be good for him to start off in public school before taking the more traditional route at Phillips Academy in Andover. Oh, yeah, Tom Songen, that's a guy I know. Uh, no, genuinely, I have his autograph just because I happened to catch him at the right moment in the alumni box like 12 years ago. Um, Oh, hey, there's Paul Skidmore, aforementioned, played 2 games in the NHL. Um, no shame in that. Hey, Alex Newhook. Sorry, Canadiens fans, except not really. But, yeah, Matt Boldy is proving to be a pretty damn good pro, so we'll mention him in that conversation as well. Like, I've definitely become a pretty big appreciator of him, I would say. Um, but, let me see something real quick.
gonna make me do this, huh?
First round picks all time. Here we go. We can just knock it down like a laundry list. The first ever was David Quinn, who was taken 13th overall in 1984. Then 2 years later was Scott Young, 11th overall. Keith Kachuk, of course, very respectable part of that alumni list. Was taken 19th overall in 1990. Scott LaChance, which, of course, we all know in this sphere, is, of course, fatherhood to Shane. And, of course, his last pro stop, Scott's, that is, was the Lowell Devils, appropriately enough. But Jeff Keelty, 22nd overall. Let's see. 1994, Rick DiPietro. Let's not talk about that. Ryan Whitney, 5th overall, 2002. I'll never get over that one. Kevin Shattenkirk, 14th overall, 2007. Colin Wilson, 2008, 7th overall. Charlie Coyle, 2010, 28th overall. Jack Eichel, 2nd overall, 2015, obviously. Clayton Keller, 7th overall, 2016. He's had a pretty damn good career. Charlie McAvoy, 14th overall, 2016. Dante Fabro, 2016, 17th overall. Kiefer Bellows, his dad's a real tit fucker. 19th overall, 2016. Jake Ottinger, 2017, 26th overall. Shane Bowers, 28th overall, 2017. Brady Tkachuk, 4th overall, 2018. Joel Farabee, 14th overall, 2018. Jay O'Brien, 19th overall, 2018. Trevor Zegras, 9th overall, 2019. Tyler Boucher, 10th overall, 2021. Tom Verlander, 11th overall, 2023. Macklin Celebrity, 1st overall, 2024. Same draft. Cole Eiserman, 20th overall. Pretty good track record there, I would say. This year, of course, they took a bit of a back seat in terms of draft production, as the team was carried largely by guys who were in like their post-draft seasons. Be it, of course, the Coles, Eiserman, aforementioned, and Hudson. But they did, of course, have one of their commits in the form of Sasha Boumediene, or players, I should say, of course, with him having a pretty respectable freshman year last year. Go 28th overall to keep the streak up. Of course, contrast that with James Higgins, who kind of in a full circle moment is the best first round selection that the Bruins have made since McAvoy. Like kind of like a full circle moment that with him going 7th overall to his local for intensive where he is at in his development career. Taking him 7th overall as a kid from BC, that he was the best since in a very, very numerologically appropriate moment. Of course, was the best pick that the Bruins had made since they took 14th overall, which of course is 2 times more than 7. A BU kid in the form of McAvoy, who of course is also from the state of New York. Hell, at that, they're both from Long Island.
It's like these two are in like a Stewie, evil Stewie situation here to touch upon a topic we discussed recently in the group chat. Um,
Does that
but
make Northeastern Steve? Sorry, back to the topic at
no,
hand.
no, you were more than right to add that diversion because we are in the point where I feel like this can start breaking down a bit. Like that was more than called for. Uh, I guess to knock this to kind of bring this home before we get into the big finish, whatever it may end up being. We can go into the history of these teams when they faced each other with something on the line and other situations besides just that aforementioned national title game. Interestingly, and I remember this being a pretty big talking point when it happened 2 seasons ago. Uh, the only time Boston College has defeated Boston University in the final of the Hockey East tournament was in 2024, when, of course, they defeated them 6-2 in that year, where sort of synonymously with um, the 2015 BU run, where they had everything go right until that last game of the season, effectively. Uh, but on BU side, let me see something really quickly. I have a vague recollection. You know what I really should have just done is watch that 2009 Battle of Comab documentary as prep for this. Like, I will probably still do it for enrichment's sake. Maybe, you know what? This is a great opportunity for the written aspect of Black Stitch Hockey to dive into film reviews a little bit. I think that's the route I'm gonna go, just as filler, because I am kind of dying over here looking for shit to write about uh, as this summer drags on. And what the hell? Why not? Um, let's see. So the first instance of BU defeating BC for a conference championship was all the way back in 1951 in what was known as the New England Intercollegiate Hockey League, or NEIHL for short, as BU defeated BC 4-1 in that matchup. In 1986, interestingly, they never faced each other for the ECAC title, from how it appears. BU defeated BC 9-4 in that final, um, to capture their first in that new conference. Then they defeated BC 2-1 in overtime in 2006. Bringing their cumulative record against them to be 3-1 when conference hardware is on the line, and I guess 4-1 in Premier Championship round context. For a side-by-side comparison of their conference titles, let's see. BU won the NEIHL in back-to-back years in 1951 and 1952. They won the ECAC in 72, 74, 75, 76, 77 for 5 total, bringing it to 7. 1986, 1991, 1994, 1995, 1997, 2006. That's 12, 2009, 2015, 2018, 2023. So 16 times in total for just tournament championships. For NEIHL,
regular season championships, they won it 5 times in 38, 39, 47, 48, 50. Then ACAC 65, 67, 71, 76, 78, 79. So that is another 6. So that's 11. Let's see. Hockey East, interestingly, they did not win a regular season championship until 1994. So that was their first. That's 12, 95, 13, 96, 14, 97. Quite a run here. 98, 2000, 2006, 2009, 2015, 2017, 2023. So that's 11, let's see, 17, 21. In contrast, let's see, BC has won, they won just 2 ECAC tournaments in 65 and 78. Then Hockey East, they've won 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. Hold on, let's see. 6. Okay, yep. Let's see. That's 15 total. Conference regular season champions, they were 3 times in 80, 81, 84 in ECAC. Then in Hockey East, they captured it in, let's see, wait, no, 89, 90, 91. Pretty consistent there. Not that it really amounted to much of consequence ultimately at that time. 2001, 2003, 2004, 2005, 2011, 2012, 2014, 2016, 2017, 2018, 2020, 2024, 2025. So quite a bit in the last 25 years. Let's see. So that's 3. Let's see. 9. Let's see. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 17. 22. Yeah, nothing to sneeze at. Like, really, just looking at these teams, also, just a ridiculous number of Frozen Four appearances. Like, even when, aside from a dry spell throughout most of the 80s, as they only made it in 85, like, even when BC wasn't capturing much hardware and had that championship drought that lasted 52 years, they were effectively a permanent fixture in the Frozen Four. Quite a number of appearances. Then on BU's end, like from 1950, to 2025, like, let's see, can probably figure this out real quick. 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 8, 16, 24, 32, 40 times. Yeah, I mean, oh, then hold on. That's tournament appearances. My bad. That would have been pretty absurd. God. Let's see. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 8, 16, 24. Yeah, 25 Frozen Fours. With let's see. BC having made it. Let's see. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 8, 16, 24. 26 to just barely beating them out in that regard. In one of the instances in which they do have a narrow statistical edge, whatever may happen with this team, with these teams' fortunes, like in terms of reaching that final hurdle, they're always going to be relevant in some manner or another. So, and of course, I got a note. Of course, as individual coaches, Jerry York and Jack Parker have impressive statistical acumen. With York, especially, as he stuck it out a bit longer, having had 1,100 career wins overall, which not only is the most of all time, but
he's the only member of the 1,000 wins club, and with how much with how frequent the college to pro coaching pipeline snags guys up in the contemporary age, that record is not going to be touched. I would anticipate. Like, there's just too, like, those guys got pro offers all the time, always turned them down, which is why I thought it was significant when, you know, York, having of course made it in the past, I think he was inducted maybe around 2017 or so. Let's double check on that. I will wrap up this segment very soon. Just doing one last bit of searching here. 2019. Okay, I wasn't too far off. Then, of course, Jerry York, you know, having been inducted into the Hockey Hall of Fame this year as well, which, you know, I loved so many narratives here. We were all stoked about the Alexander Mogilny omission finally being erased, but I also thought it was very significant that, you know, Jack Parker made it in as another guy who had many, many offers like his peer and friend, despite having been a longtime rival of his. They had a very close personal friendship throughout all those years, facing each other as Parker assembled a respectable resume of his own with 897 career victories total. You know, that he was another guy who got many chances to coach in the pros, turned them down every time, and despite never setting foot in pro hockey in any context, was able to make it into the Hockey Hall of Fame as one of the greatest Dev League coaches to ever do it. Which, like, I love that stuff as like a precedent setter and just a respect of that sort of servitude. And that's really like, you know, the part of this that I love the most is just, you know, seeing that hard work acknowledged and developing, you know, pros. That's, you know, like why, like that part of the process is so volatile, and yet it makes for some good stories as well. And like, I think that's why I've gotten so drawn to it and made it such a core part of my operations here. And, you know, I think that's really what lies at the crux of why I've started this mini series as we, you know, trudge on through these dead months. And with that, I think we can, you know, call wraps on the core body of this episode and move into our big finish, as I have been, you know, quite, you know, putting in quite a bit of strain on my vocal cords here. I will let Christian take it first and give myself a chance to recalibrate here.
If nautical nonsense be something you wish, you're probably a fucking Canucks fan, and boy oh boy has Patrick Alvin sunk the ship all the way down to Bikini Bottom. Yes, that's how I'm opening this. I've had a great deal of joy being a division rival to the Vancouver Canucks so far this offseason. Really appreciating from a distance is Patrick Alvin does everything wrong with the Jim Rutherford Penguins and just taking it to new lows. Like, I need R-Truth in here to explain how many lows they're experiencing. But on that note, you know, we look back to February, the extension to Kevin Lankinen, and the recent extension that they handed out to Thatcher Demko, which for both players in terms of their quality of play is valuable. I'm not going to dispute the fact that both players are incredibly competent goaltenders, but to now have two goaltenders that are combined making, I think, $13 million in cap hit and you just traded a 24-year-old Artur Seelobs for Chase Stillman, who, you know, he could be something based on Vancouver's ability to develop their prospects. I don't think he's going to be anything for them, and that's not a shot against Stillman. That's why Atu Rate is a prospect I like watching as he struggles against all odds, and Vasily Podkolzin becoming at least of some value in Edmonton is remarkable. And speaking of Edmonton, you know, we talk shit about Don Sweeney's deal with Edmonton where he gave them their cap bailout on the Arvidsson deal. But man, Vancouver just deciding to help out a division rival and just take Evander Kane for nothing. And like, yeah, he's a $5 million cap hit, but like, cool, you went out and got Evander Kane at $5.125 million to play in your top six inconsistently while probably being a locker room cancer and somebody who's going to prevent you from selling tickets, just so you could fill the cap space that required you to trade Dakota Joshua, who went through an injury-plagued season after a tumultuous contract negotiation last offseason. It's like I watch Vancouver's movements and the way that they be maneuvering and just wondering, how the fuck do you have to? It's like a trolley dilemma with every decision they make. But there's a third option. There's a either make a good move or or don't make a move, and they just pull the lever and say, but what if? Fuck our fans, fuck our chances of making the playoffs, and fuck winning a Stanley Cup. Is just their modus operandi at this point. And honestly, I fucking love it. Keep doing it. It's the only thing keeping me locked in on the NHL offseason this year. I am bored out of my gourd until the Vancouver Canucks pop off and do the dumbest fucking thing I've seen from them all summer, and I hope they do it at least 2 or 3 more times.
So I will praise one component of, as much as certain aspects of their operations have left things to be desired, as has been documented by us many times over, including by the guy below me in written context. But I give a lot of credit to at least what Pat Verbeek did in terms of avoiding arbitration with Lucas Dostal. And getting that high value deal at 5 years, $6.5 million annually, which obviously was enough to satiate things, but I would imagine also that I think there's maybe a little bit of that underpinning to this deal where there's that typical Henry Samueli business ops of paying players less than what they're worth. But I mean, it got the job done in that respect, apparently. But it is baffling, and I am going to recycle some talking points from Jesse Corville Lynch here of the hockey writers. That mainstream discourse has this has perceived this as like a precedent or a comparable, looking just at raw statistics for the sort of deal that Stuart Skinner can get. Like, I'm sorry to tell you this because as Corville Lynch also points out, you are just prone to looking at save percentage and goals against average as your barometer for goaltender performance. And I'm going to put it this way, because if you're involved in hockey mainstream discourse, you're also probably a knuckle dragger who doesn't understand analytics in the least. This is, effectively the argument that Corville Lynch uses, but not with the same confrontational veneer that I'm using right now, but I think it's warranted because I fucking hate hockey media figures for the most part. And I also hate large swaths of the fan base for this sport. As this article points out, and as I've known throughout this entire time, this is an asinine conversation that shouldn't be happening because you obviously have no fucking idea how massive the fucking gap is between these two goaltenders in terms of goals saved above expected. I hate to tell you this, but Dostal blows Skinner's ass out of the fucking water in that respect. So please, if you think that and God forbid, if I'm gonna go full Penn Jillette here, if you are an NHL executive and you are saying to insiders or to anyone in your private circle or anyone that you are involved in negotiations with that the Lucas Dostal contract serves as a precedent for the deal that Stuart Skinner is going to get, you need to shut the fuck up. And that's all I had to say on that topic. I just went full bullshit mode there, but there you go.
You know, my favorite thing I saw on X on that thread, because of course I saw it without participating. I really enjoyed just, the trail away from every fan in the Pacific Division with if Lucas Dostal played for the Edmonton Oilers, Connor McDavid would have 2 Stanley Cup rings. And I'm not going to agree or disagree with that statement. I'm just going to say I understand.
It's definite. Like I appreciate it's actually ridiculous how much I appreciate the argumentative logic there more than any argument that can be used in favor of this being a precedent setter for that deal. Like holy fuck. Wow. I love how the article ends with to compare him to Dostal is silly and shouldn't be done again. Like that's like the most like diplomatic way of articulating that that could possibly be done. But hey, I said the quiet part out loud. So you know, um I'm glad I did too. I feel a lot better having done it. But yeah, wise choice not to insert yourself in the fray there, because as we always say, everything controversial on X is just bait. And with that said, uh, I will begin my sign off here as this episode turned to be one of our lengthier ones in our history. As I monologued about Jack O'Callahan's very high level of self respect. For longer than I anticipated doing. But yeah, next week and in this coming week, anticipate maybe like one or two more articles that sort of fit the general pattern that I've established. And next week on the pod, I think probably expect something in a similar wheelhouse, but maybe something even more hyper regional and like a little bit more obscure that I love just poring over the history of. It's pretty entertaining. Really like some of the stuff that went on in the time period of certain two collegiate programs that are even more central to where this cast was formed and where it is based out of. I hope this is something that people enjoy. We started a little entry level with this one, but it's going to get more and more niche and maybe even more and more entertaining as it goes on. But with that all said, thank you to everyone who continues to support this product in any form. Of course, about tonight, thank you to everyone who tuned in. Thank you to people who are continuously checking us out on Spotify and YouTube and reading our articles on WordPress. Some good passive hits recently that I'm pretty satisfied with. And with that all said, it was a great time. Thank you, everyone. Have a great night, and we will see you next week.
To shut